Hi everybody, welcome to this week's Single Sales Principle webinar. Following the success of last week's webinar, which was all about the egg farmer, effectively a fable around why people should spend more time working with other people rather than just focusing on the numbers. Today we're going to do a similar thing. We're going to talk about another fable. This time it's called King Knowitall. And it's why clever people ask more than they tell, particularly relevant for any bosses or salespeople out there. So here we go. King Knowitall was a clever old soul, a wise and noble king. He really knew all there was to know about the universe and everything. So people came from miles around, from all parts of his kingdom, to hear the answer to their woes and hear his royal wisdom. The subjects of his subjects covered all sorts of drama, from how can I evict a troll to help, I've lost my llama. Once the king was even asked to play the role of Cupid, but mostly it was work and stuff. After all, is the economy stupid? The conversations went like this. King, I feel irate. My son's got himself a job, but he keeps on being late. He loves his job, so it's not the motivation that he's lacking. But if he doesn't sort it out very soon, he's heading for a sacking. King Knowitall would know instinctively just what to say. He'd put his chin upon his hand and in a soothing way, "Don't worry, peasant," he'd reply, putting a hand on his head. "Here's the plan that's guaranteed to get him out of bed. Change the time on his alarm clock, half an hour on. And when the morning bell goes off, he'll think he'll have to run. The beauty is he'll get to work in plenty of time, even though he'll think he's late, and they're way after 9. King Knowitall, cheered the man, "you're a genius." "I know," smugly grinned the king, "don't state the obvious." So the man left happy. The king did know it all. And yes, things were very sweet in the land of Knowitall. Then one day a blacksmith called. He had a problem with his horse. He asked the king if he could help. The king replied, "Of course." The blacksmith said, "You see my nag, he's spooked, I don't know why. For every time I change his shoe, he kicks me in the eye." The king thought long, the king thought hard, but nothing came to him. He didn't want to confess that livestock just not his thing. He needed more time to think this through. He thought, "I'll have to blag it. If I can store him for a mow, I'll still have time to bag it." The king looked up, paused for breath, and with a cunning retort said, "Of course I know the fix, but first I have a thought. Let's imagine daft I know that I didn't have a clue. Faced with that predicament, what do you think you'd do?" The blacksmith gasped. Never before had he been asked to think. He scratched his head, mopped his brow, his eyes began to blink. Then out of nowhere into his head a solution then did pop. He thought he'd better say it quick in case the thinking stopped. "Well, perhaps, maybe," he nervously began, "this horse of mine does like it in the past when I have sung. What if I did sing to him, his confidence now growing, and changed his shoe when full of song without him ever knowing?" The king gasped. He was amazed. The answer was quite brilliant. He knew he would never have thought of something so quite magnificent. "That's correct," he said. "That's just what I was going to say. Now off you go, best of luck and have a royal day." But to be fair, how was the king supposed to know that the blacksmith's horse was an Elvis fan and loved the little show? But as the blacksmith crossed the moat, the king began to ponder. Maybe he stumbled onto something. It made him kind of wonder. It's a big responsibility having to know it all. Could peasants have the ability to think of things as well? Instead of giving answers, what if he simply asked a question? After all, they're the ones with inside information. He put it to the test. next day to see if he was right. After all, the blacksmith may have just happened to be bright. But sure enough, the same result, expectations were exceeded, with answers that were better than his, he honestly conceded. And from that day, the king's replies were always open-ended, like why and what and how and who. The answers back were splendid. And health and wealth and happiness in the kingdom grew and grew, for many minds make more than one, King Knowitall ever knew. As time passed, pretty soon everyone forgot. The king was once called Knowitall. He was now called Great King Ask-a-Lot. So here's the point. If you're a boss or in sales and leading like a king and feeling under pressure to give an answer to a thing, don't worry if you're struggling to come up with a suggestion to get a better answer. Just ask a better question. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Please give us some feedback if you did. www.lemore.com, and we look forward to working with you next week.